Isaiah chapter 17 contains one of the most sobering and intriguing prophecies in the entire Old Testament. It begins with the words, "The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap." Damascus is the capital of Syria and one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. For more than 4,000 years, people have lived there. Empires have risen and fallen, yet Damascus has endured. But Isaiah 17 tells us a day will come when this city will no longer exist, reduced to a heap of ruins. That has never happened in all of history, which means this prophecy still points to the future. When we read further, we see that this judgment on Damascus is linked with trouble for Israel as well. Verse 4 says, "In that day it shall come to pass, that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean." In other words, Israel will suffer too in the time of this calamity. This isn't just about Syria. It has about a regional shaking that impacts the whole Middle East. Now let's connect this to today. Damascus is not just a historical city. It is the center of Syria's government, and Syria itself has become a flashpoint of modern conflict. Over the last decade, we've seen civil war tear the nation apart. We've seen chemical weapons used, entire neighborhoods flattened, and millions displaced. And yet, Damascus still stands. Isaiah says one day it will not. What could cause the sudden and complete destruction of such a city? This is where the text gets especially interesting. Isaiah describes a day of desolation, of cities forsaken, of devastation that is total. Many prophecy students suggest this could involve weapons of mass destruction, something Isaiah could not have described in the vocabulary of his time. A modern nuclear strike or advanced missiles carrying unconventional payloads could literally fulfill this verse overnight. Now look at the players on the world stage. Syria today is not an isolated country. It is heavily influenced by Iran, whose military and proxy groups operate openly within its borders. Russia also maintains a strong presence in Syria, with bases, soldiers, and advanced weaponry. And just over the border is Israel, watching every movement closely. Israel has repeatedly launched precision airstrikes inside Syria to prevent Iran from moving advanced weapons to Hezbollah. Each strike demonstrates Israel's extraordinary military technology, from F-35 stealth jets to missile defense systems like Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow. The precision of these strikes is astonishing. Israel has used electronic warfare, satellite surveillance, and even cyber capabilities to neutralize threats before they reach its borders. But the danger grows each year. Iran continues to embed itself deeper into Syria, and the risk of a confrontation that spirals out of control increases. Isaiah 17 also ties the fate of Damascus with broader judgment across the region. Verse 12 describes the uproar of many peoples, nations rushing like the roaring seas. This imagery sounds strikingly similar to the coalition of nations described in Ezekiel 38 to 39, which also centers on an invasion of Israel. Could Isaiah 17 be a prelude to Ezekiel's war? It's very possible. A conflict in Damascus could trigger events that cascade into the Gog and Magog scenario. Consider this. Damascus is only about 135 miles from Jerusalem. A missile carrying unconventional warheads could be launched in minutes. With today's hypersonic technology, threats move faster than ever. Israel's layered defense system is powerful, but no system is perfect. A desperate move by Iran or its proxies could provoke a catastrophic response. And Isaiah tells us that one day Damascus will fall. Notice also how the prophecy emphasizes suddenness. This is not a slow decline, not a city abandoned over centuries, but a sudden collapse that fits perfectly with modern warfare technology precision strikes, weapons of mass destruction, cyber disruption, or even a combination. But Isaiah does not stop with destruction. In verses 7 and 8, he says that in that day a remnant of people will look to their Maker, and their eyes will have respect for the Holy One of Israel. Even in judgment, God calls people back to himself. The shaking of nations is always designed to draw eyes upward, back to him. So where does this leave us? We see Syria in constant turmoil. We see Israel facing existential threats. We see Russia and Iran embedded on Israel's northern border. We see advanced technologies, missiles, drones, cyber weapons that could fulfill these ancient words in an instant. And we see the nations aligning just as the prophets described. Isaiah 17 reminds us that God's word is not symbolic poetry alone. It is literal, it is precise, and it speaks into our headlines. The prophecy of Damascus has stood unfulfilled for 2,700 years. But with every passing year, with every missile strike in Syria, with every escalation in the region, the stage is being set. The destruction of Damascus may be tomorrow's headline. And when it comes, it will shock the world, but it will not shock those who study God's word, because the Lord told us in advance, so that when it happens, we will know that he is God. For believers, the message is not fear, but readiness. These events remind us that the return of Christ is drawing near, and that our hope is not in politics, weapons, or nations, but in the Lord himself. So as we watch the Middle East, as we read the headlines about Syria, Iran, Russia, and Israel, let us remember, Isaiah 17 is not history, it is prophecy. And prophecy is God's way of saying, I am in control. I declare the end from the beginning. Trust me,